All right, and welcome back to Augment, everyone. Today we have got a really special Illuvium Zero centered episode with just me and TSG. We're going to be chatting shit or whatever you want to say and just talk about Illuvium Zero, what it's been like, our initial thoughts, reviews, that sort of stuff. Even though I'm sure TSG has already made a video, I might have one in the works as well. We're going to be talking about it, kind of like where we think it's going in the future and if we think it's any good. Obviously, it's not everyone's cup of tea. But I do think the Illuvium community has really taken it on board very quickly, and that's really exciting to see. So we're going to talk a bit more on that. So how you going, man?
Yeah, good. I'm excited, man. This is one of those topics. This is one of the games. Honestly, I've made it very, very public that this was one of the games that I honestly did not care about from a gameplay perspective. I didn't think I was going to be into it at all, but I've been pleasantly surprised. And like going into like my impressions of it, straight off the bat, like being honest, the thing I've been telling everyone is like I'm pretty sure you've seen a bit of my setup. Like I've got a couple of screens all around me, so I've got a lot of screen space. And the thing with Overworld was if I'm working, which I am most of the time, I can't play Overworld because that would mean that I'd have to drop my work to focus on Overworld. Whereas the cool thing with Illuvium Zero is I could have 4 of my screens working and having Illuvium Zero on one of my screens, and it's not going to take much. I legitimately have it on throughout the entire day as I am working, just to click and upgrade and stay on top of it. So it's a nice little way of maintaining that I'm inside of the Illuvium universe without having to commit all of my time and effort and really dropping the rest of my life as well. So I think it's been incredible. Again, it's surprised me. It's not perfect, like I said in my video. It's bugs galore. By far the buggiest release that we have dropped. But again, I think that there's a reason we dropped it as an alpha and not a beta like everything else. I think it's acceptable. And there's a lot of work to do, but nah, very, very pleasantly surprised. Well, what's your take? Because I know you were fucking fiending for this. Like you were like, yo, like Dave Chappelle kind of scratching, wanting to get this in your hands. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they fixed up the bugs really quickly, which I think is worth noting. I don't know if it's because it's mobile or they'd set it up in a certain way that made it really easy to get to these bugs, but they did knock them out pretty quickly, and I haven't had any issues since the recent patch. Not a
Hmm.
single one really from that I can think of. So
I mean,
that's
I don't know if you've experienced this. Sorry to cut you up, but like there's still
no,
one bug
yeah.
that hasn't been fixed for sure,
Which one's
and
this?
that is that the landmarks aren't not all of the
Oh,
landmarks are correct. So
my landmark
that's
isn't
a
back. No.
yeah. So my landmark is incorrect, which is kind of annoying. But I mean, I hope they get it done by season one. I think they have to get it
Yeah,
done
they
by
will.
season
They
one.
will. That's the
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
What's going to be most important with season one and stuff? I think they would have tweaked some of the balancing. But honestly, my biggest gripe is very specific, and it's that the Nexus needs one Krypton to level up to level 5 or whatever it is,
Mhm.
and none of my lands have Krypton on them, so I lose
Yeah.
a whole day because I've got to.
I think that's a very personal issue.
It's very personal. No, I think the game's awesome. It's a shame we can't see the animations and the ambient effects and things like that yet. I'm really excited
Yeah.
for them because I think they will enhance the game a lot more than people might expect. I think
Mm.
they can make a really big difference. It already feels amazing. It looks kind of crappy on my phone. I mean, it looks like a mobile game on my phone. I mean, it still looks better than every other mobile game, but it doesn't look particularly great. But that's
Mm.
only in comparison to when I have it on the desktop. It looks incredible. It looks better than pretty much
Yeah.
every other blockchain game, and it's not even our flagship. So I think that's worth being said. The gameplay isn't super crazy deep. In the late game and optimizing and min maxing and all that, I can see how that's super deep and super crazy, but it's not for everyone. Not everyone's going to be
Mm.
bothered with that and they can't really be stuffed. So it's a very specific gameplay loop, but it's my sort of gameplay loop. I absolutely love it. I love all the analytical numbers stuff, as you guys
Mm.
know, and I'll be building my charts and things as we go. I've been a bit busy
Yeah.
lately, but no, I think it looks fantastic. It feels really good. It's all the quality of life stuff that's holding it back at the moment. The really
Mm.
simple things like you can't build more than one path at once. You can't select
Yeah.
multiple buildings and mass click on events on things like
Yeah.
that. But at the same time, I've got Clash of Clans when the iPod first came out, the first
Mm.
iPod or whatever. And even Clash of Clans didn't have any of the quality of life stuff it has nowadays, to be honest. So
Of course.
it's not a shock that it's missing some of this stuff off the bat. And I think they'll be relatively quick to implement. Hopefully, they'll be really good
Yeah.
features once they come in.
Yeah, and I know personally like that team internally is growing as well. So we
Mm.
are having more hands on deck when it comes to development on that end. So I think things are going to move a lot faster as well. And yeah, like you said, like graphically, I've only played it on desktop. It looks amazing even without the animations. But again, like you say, with the animations, I don't know what everyone's gripe is with Shard Bluff, man. I fucking think that it looks great. I don't know why people are so against it. I get it that some of the others look cool too, but yo, I don't. Yeah, there seems to be like a hate for Shard Bluff, which is, yeah, I
I
don't get
haven't
it.
I haven't looked at that. My T3 is Shard Bluff. I enjoy it. I do like the Crimson Wastes better, and my Tiger Boreal I probably like better. Out of
Right,
all of them, I could consider Shard Bluff maybe in my bottom three, in terms of
right,
graphics, but I still love it.
right,
That being said, I have a Crystal Shores plot, and oh, it's too trippy for me, man. It's too much.
right. Yeah, you can tell that I'm 100% like a dark mode person. Like everything is dark mode. And again, like I would hate to be lying in bed playing Tiger Boreal with like the bright white light. It's like even dimmed down. I can imagine that's just like yo
It's
a
not that
headache to deal
crazy.
with.
It's not that
Okay, yeah,
crazy.
yeah, but no, I
That is a
prefer I prefer darkness.
Yeah, that is a big thing. Is that they can take quite a bit of time and brain power, which I think is interesting. I kind of
Mm,
hoped that they would, but like what I'm saying is like I have four plots or whatever, and I really only play one or two, and now I'm just
mm,
playing one because I just want to focus on it. When blueprints come out, I'll have to play them all, but it's
yeah,
just so much mental gymnastics to remember what they're all doing, and
yeah.
I kind of wish there was an easier way to kind of remember what they were doing or something like that. I don't know, but that's going to be interesting moving
I think it's
forward.
part of
So
the game. It's part of the game. Yeah.
yeah, so the next thing we'll talk about is Johnny has talked about PvP features. Apparently
Mhm.
made some really crazy stuff in the Discord and things like that as well. What are your thoughts on PvP in Illuvium Zero?
I have not read this at all. I'll be honest. I've been
Let me see if I can
completely
try to
flat
find it.
out.
You keep talking.
Yeah, yeah. I've been completely flat out with meetings and just working on a couple of things on the back end that I haven't actually caught up on a lot of the stuff on Discord. I did hear rumblings of something to do with PvP. Honestly, my opinion on this is going to be tough, just because I'm not that mobile gamer. Like I said, I'm not the person that's into this style of game. I wouldn't even know what PvP looks like. I know we've spoken about it before about potentially going and raiding someone else's fuel. I'm against that idea. I think that if we do implement PvP, there has to be something where we're not fucking up each other's resources and things like that.
Mm.
Especially when there's finances involved. I think there needs to be another way to do something. Um, but I don't think that's the way. So I don't have any ideas for PvP. It's not like I say, it's not a style of game that I'm into. But I'm keen to hear what you've got to say. Like you're clearly way more invested in this type of game than I am, so you probably have way more ideas. But yeah,
Obviously,
anything to fuck with the financial side of things from each player is just not. I'm not about that personally.
yeah, I definitely think some level of player versus player rating and things like that could be really fun and really interesting. I more so say that because what I want most of all is to see more buildings in the game. It currently has all your like bare bones buildings and things like that. I'm not sure what more you could add. Maybe things that have variants in abilities and things, like something that's really specific to Solon or something like that. I don't know. But at the same time, that's why PvP does appeal to me, is because you get things like cannons, your defenses, and things like that, which could be a really fun game mechanic. But what I think is a neat compromise and would achieve the same goal of keeping you more engaged with the game in the day to day would be some level of PvE. Could you imagine
Mm.
looking at the land map and you see that in this section of the map there's like a horde of ram fires going around just like bombing cities or something, and no one owns those cities, but you can go maybe capture those cities and harvest a tiny bit of resources from them or fight off the ram
Like
fires, and
go and protect him or something like that. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
maybe that helps you scan the biodata and things like that. But these events only happen in random places around the world, so you can't
Mm,
necessarily get to it if you're on Crimson Waste, and you've got to get to your
mm,
own one and stuff like that. I think these sorts of random events, if they're easy to build and easy to implement, could add so much to the game with very little effort, and that would
mm,
just make it really really engaging. And yeah, because they also have plans for like adding VR capabilities and things where you can walk around on your land, and where you can just scroll in and view everyone's land even if you don't own it and see what it looks like and things like that.
mm,
I think adding that level of interactivity and pushing it forward into the map and the way that all works would be really, really cool. And maybe you're
Mm,
walking around in the overworld and you see something in the distance, and you can look on the map on the website and you can see what's happening there and things.
yeah.
I think there's a lot of potential.
I think things like that. I think like again, I know you've played Civilization, but you have those little villages where you can go and like collect them, and they give you an extra builder or an extra something like that.
Hmm.
I think again, I think like that PvP, PVE, sorry, idea of having certain instances, certain villages or cities near you, again, not owned by human beings, but that are being attacked by something, or something is happening over there where you go and protect it, or scavenge,
Hmm.
or do something there, and you get a benefit from it, whether it's an extra building slot, whether it's I don't know, some credit, whether it's an extra builder, like all of these, an extra builder for 48 hours, something like that, right? Like there are a lot of things that you guys can get and do with that PVE, which I think is again like these little mini games, or again I don't play these type of games, so I don't know, but something like that that can give you these small benefits. I think this will have people coming back to it and being like, again, if you're just at work and then you get a notification on your phone, yo, this raid is going down, or this I don't know, like this city is being attacked by so on and so forth. We need you. Like you see that kind of shit in these type of games. And again, I think that might be a cool idea. But again, that's more PvE than PvP. I would have no clue at all. Does Clash of Clans have PvP? How does that work, man? Like
Clash
I've
of
never
Clans
played that
is
shit.
PvP. That's its
Right.
entire premise.
Yeah, I'm completely clued out on that. Like,
so
how does that work? Like, what's the purpose of that?
So the idea is that your Clash of Clans is made up of three core buildings. You
Hmm.
have all your resource generators and all that sort of stuff. You have your defensive buildings to defend your base. And your third type is actually your attacking units buildings. So in this
Mm.
case, they have their giants, archers, barbarians, those sorts of characters. And they've actually built quite the suite of games now. They've got Clash Royale, Clash Mini. They've got a bunch. Supercell is massive in the mobile industry, and they always, every time they release a game, it's really polished. They're like one of the only studios that does that. Anyway, so you have those three types of buildings, and essentially, it's being able to mix up the three effectively. So you can put all your resource stuff in the center and all your buildings on the outside, but then they get destroyed first if someone attacks you. But if your resources
Right.
are in the center, then they're better protected because someone just needs to actually attack the resource buildings, your silos and things like that, and then they steal your resources from you, which can be
Wow.
pretty intense if you get attacked a lot.
Yep.
And then
Yep. And
it's
how does
that
that
sort of
happen?
mechanic.
Like when someone attacks you, do they do it randomly? Do they choose specifically to
No,
attack
so
you? Like, how does
it's
that work?
it's very specific. So basically, you have all your units. You essentially build a deck. The bigger your base is, then the larger your deck can be. Essentially, and you
Yeah.
basically you place the units around the base and things like that. And there's lots of different. They have such a deep. They have a lot of deep strategy in that gameplay that allows them to make up some pretty cool strategies. Like there's things like where you do like a full air raid because some defenses can't attack air units, and you have
Yeah.
some things where you place one or two units to drag out some of the defenses, and then you like destroy them with a lot of units and things like that. So there's a lot of really unique gameplay to be had. The problem is that the structures of the defenses and things start to get a little bit black and white. The bigger the base gets, you can really only put them in so many places, and there's so many, like your Inferno Tower being more central makes the most sense. Your
Hmm.
your crossbow has a really big range, so it being more central makes more sense, and things like that. So it's a little bit limiting in that way. But
Hmm.
overall, it's really, really interesting. I would like to see, even if there's no PvP, more interaction between different players. So
Yep.
I don't know what this would exactly look like. And I know you'll have the marketplace and things like that, which will all be really awesome. But what if you partnered up with a really specific person and you said, okay, we're both going to use up some space on our land to build a portal just between us two. And now we can both transport stuff to each other. There's a cost because we have to use up one of our building slots and where it goes, and it might destroy efficiency and stuff. But now we get to team up within a guild. Even maybe there's a guild of 50 people, and you can
Mm.
all place a specific building on your land. That means you can take some resources from the guild pool, and everyone could donate to it and work as a team and things like that. I think there's a lot of potential for co-op, along with the
Mm.
PvE stuff I described before. But there's a lot of potential with co-op, and maybe we should be taking it step by step. Co-op, and then maybe some level of PvP.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I'm just keen to see how it develops. Again, like, I didn't think it was going to be my game. I'm enjoying it so far, and we'll see how it develops. I'm honestly enjoying it just as a city builder, kind of an idle clicker. But the more they add onto it, we'll see how that plays out.
I think this
Yeah.
does go into our next topic, is that free to play is going to be a large part of Illuvium Zero, or at least
Mm.
it needs to be, right?
Yeah.
Mobile gaming has the biggest market share in gaming. The overworld is great and all, and hopefully we all make a ton of money or whatever you want to say. But in terms of mobile gaming, that's got a lot of people in it. If you can monetize that effectively, it can be really, really powerful. And currently, I'm not convinced Illuvium Zero has really set itself up for the free to play side of things.
Hmm.
I'd argue it's too quick to reach the end zone at the very least. Do you have any
Do
thoughts
you
on this
think so?
stuff?
Do you think it's too quick to reach the end zone?
In Clash of Clans, it probably takes you 4 to 5 years. Like
Right.
if you're not paying for it.
Right. I mean, okay, it might not take us 4 to 5 years, that's for sure. But uh, again, I don't play these games again. I'm going to keep going back to that, so I don't know what's normal. But I think it takes quite some time. Like again, I'm at a point now where I actually did just close this game so I could save some bandwidth for recording this. But I think I'm on it's Nexus 9 is the last one, right? I
Yeah.
believe I'm on Nexus 8, and to level up to the ninth is like what 3 days or some shit like that. Like it's a long time for one building, and we only have one builder. So right now, instead of even doing that, I'm just upgrading all of my extractors and just make sure everything else is upgraded as much as I can before I take that last step. And even now, it's like 2 hours, 3 hours, 4, 8 hours to upgrade a storage, and it's like it takes time. I don't know if that's too quick. To like
I'm I'm
I don't
I'm
think that's quick at all.
I'm screaming
But
a little bit internally. Most other games, when you start to get to the really late phases of their games, it could
mm,
take 2 to 3 weeks to do any given upgrade.
that's mental. That's wild. Like, see, I wouldn't. But yeah, again, I don't know. I don't get that concept. Like, I would forget. But life moves way too quickly to like nowadays. Like, I'm not gonna put if I have one builder or some shit, and I click something. It's like come back 2 weeks later, dude. Fuck, I might have a new job. I might have a child on the way. Like, I don't know. My whole life might change in 2 weeks. Like, that's crazy. So, yeah, I think that, again, but if it works, it works. It's not something that I'm an expert in. But personally, as a gamer, as someone that's getting into this mobile space with Illuvium Zero and things like that, if they started to say 2 weeks, I'd be like, nah, fam. Even the 3 days, I'm saying we need an additional builder. So yeah, we could have that on the side as 3 days, but allow us to come back daily to do
Yeah,
something. Like
yeah.
we need to fucking like get us back
Additional.
into you want to keep us away from your it's like opening up a store and then saying, all right, by the way, we've got your order. You can't come back in for anything else for 2 weeks. That's crazy. You'd want them to keep coming in, spending money, buying things, testing things out. Like it makes sense.
Yeah,
So the whole
and
2 weeks thing is baffling to me.
an,
Yeah.
an additional builder makes the most sense here, especially two or three of them. Maybe you lock them behind paywalls. I think most games lock
I
that sort of
I
stuff behind a
disagree.
paywall.
I disagree with the paywall. I don't think it should be a paywall. I think it should be a progression thing. Because paywall
Yeah.
then becomes very, very much it's just like, oh man, if you have money, dude, you're just gonna fucking like again, I get you can do that with the credits, but I think with the builders, that's just taking it too far. I think that should be fair in regards to cool, you could speed up to get to level 100 and then you get a builder anyway. There's no problem. But to say let's buy a builder, I'm not a fan of that idea at all. I think we should do it at like 100, level 100, you get an additional builder, a level 200. Every 100 levels, you get an additional builder, something like that, right? And I'm saying
So
those numbers specifically, but that concept is better than paying for these builders. I just don't think that that's a
it
good
is.
look for the
It's
ecosystem.
it's usually capped. It's usually a combination of the two. It's
Mm,
usually say level 100. It's maybe a decent way through the game. You get your second builder and things like that, but you can pay to get it early and things like that. That's usually kind of how it goes. And you can say, for example, if you paid just a $500 sum, or well, not that much. Sorry, I was talking like 500 credits. If you pay like $5, you could have a second builder, and then you'll get your third and your fourth, and only people at the max can have one extra builder if they pay that money or whatever.
mm.
Maybe it's not the right way to go. It's really hard since we've got NFTs and things involved now.
Yeah.
But I
So
think
yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Yeah.
in terms of the free to play, I think it's important that the grind continues. Now, I think multiple builders and extending times is a must. Maybe not even extending them that much, but I think there's this interesting premise here, right? Where Clash of Clans does it really well, where they time their things pretty decently. So they'll release all this new stuff and all these new upgrades, right? And then it takes people about 6 to 12 months if they're not paying for it, 6 to 12 months to finish all those upgrades. And by about that time, they've released the next set.
Mm.
So they've got this thing that they're churning out really efficiently, where you can't quite reach the end until new content comes. And I just what I think is important is that new content comes before free to play players finish.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I don't even know what finish means in free to play with this game because again, it makes sense for
Mm.
landowners because we know we're going to get fuel, we know we're going to get blueprints. What is the goal for a free to play player? I actually don't know here. And that's again, I'll be honest. Like I'm pretty well versed on Arena. I'm pretty well versed on Overworld in regards to what's happening internally. Zero is one of the ones that I'm not versed on, just because it's not something that I thought I'd care about. I just didn't think any of that, so I'm not clued up on what their plans are there. If I'm being completely honest, but yeah, like I said, like the landowners have a specific goal, fuel and blueprints. That they've got that end game. They've got that. This is what we're striving towards. But if you take that away, what is the thing that they're actually striving for a free to play player right now? Like there isn't PVE, there isn't PvP. Like what is the goal? Like what is the purpose of spending their time here? I'm unsure, and I'm sure Johnny's got something figured out. And it's just me not paying attention to that channel in the Discord that I'm unaware of it. But I'm interested to see what happens with that. I
I
think
think
it's going to be
some
necessary, like you say.
I think someone suggested it to me a long time ago, and I can't remember who it was, so I really apologize if it was you. But they talked about things like a new currency, a currency that can be used in Illuvium and stuff. And obviously, I pushed back on that instantly because
That
I don't want
wasn't me. Yeah,
anyone. I don't want anyone to earn something for free that they can bring into Illuvium. But at the
yeah,
same time, you can get T0 alluvials for free. Now, I'm not saying you get T0 alluvials, but maybe you can mine T0 materials and bring them into Illuvium, right? Because it's still free. I mean, it's really not
potentially.
that different from Overworld. So I think elements of those sorts of things where it connects to Illuvium in some tangible way for free to play players would be a really fascinating way to delve deeper into that and push, especially push people onto the Overworld because
Yep,
that's kind of the end goal with most of the Illuvium
that
metaverse at this
is.
point, right?
I was going to say that is the goal. How we do that, I'm unsure of. Again, the goals would be to transition a free to play zero player into an overworld player and therefore an arena player. How we make that happen, that's something that I'm not. I haven't got the answer to that yet, but it
Mm.
definitely seems like that should be the goal for a free to play player. Obviously, the fun in the zero game should be it. But again, there needs to be a goal of some sort, leveling up to a certain point to get something, to achieve something. And right now, I don't personally see that for a free to play player. But again, 100%, I want to make sure, like I say this, like for landowners, there is definitely that feeling. Again, like for me, when I'm playing it, it's like I've got 5 pieces of land and I've only been playing one. So when season one does come out, February 21st, I'm gonna have to scramble and be like, all right, I need to make time for all 5 pieces of land. I need to get these scanners out because I've optimized one piece of land, but the other four I have no clue. I haven't even looked at it, so I'm gonna have to figure it out real quick and be like, all right, I hope my knowledge is able to translate across. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy. I'm the same way. I just can't focus on more than one, and they all
yeah.
look different too because all in different regions, which
That's
does
yeah.
help
You
me
have to
remember a little
consider.
bit.
You have to consider
But
what resources you have in this one. What like there's a lot, man.
all the resources are in such different places too. You're like, shit, where did I put my engineering workshop on this
And
land?
some of the placement strategies in one land aren't going to work in another because of the it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. Yeah, 100%,
It's
one
wild. It's
hundred
wild. All right.
percent.
So the next thing I did want to look at is kind of similar. So what does the future look like in terms of graphics and new buildings? Are there any kind of like new building ideas at the very least you can think of that might make
That I can
sense
think
for
of.
Illuvium Zero? Or like, do you
Yeah,
think the graphics can come further? Do you think they're
of
at their
course. At some point, yeah, obviously, at some point. Again, we've done really, really well to get the graph. Again, we meaning the art team has done really, really well to get the art to this point. Like you saw, Dimitri and Grant in the previous showcase
hmm,
discuss the hero plans being placed into Illuvium Zero. Like we can see it; it looks amazing. So graphically, I think it's great right now. Can it be better? Of course. Will it be better? Of course. in regards to what the future actually holds, it's going to be like, or what other buildings and stuff that we can actually put. Personally, this I think I brought it up on Augment before, but again, I need to make a video about it. But a massive shout out to Josheth in the community. His idea of his idea of like integrating Illuvium Zero into the overworld, right? Like that, I think is a really good idea, and I think like an expedition building, something like that, where you can send out your drone into, and you can choose whether you want it to be a mining run, an alluvial capture run, or a balanced run. You can kind of choose those options, and like I say, we personally know efficiently doing a run in the overworld is 30 minutes. Let's say it takes 2 hours if you're using the Illuvium Zero app, right? Just because we don't want to be rewarding not being immersed in the universe. It's like more one of those things. If you're still at work, you can still stay in the game, use your resources, get some benefits out of it, so on and so forth. So I think a building like that would be really, really cool, like an expedition site or an expedition center where you prepare, choose your things, go out. Even kind of saying like setting it up to say you only give it like if you're saying you're going for a mining run, you can choose the drone upgrades that you want to attach. If you're going for a capture run, you can choose the amount of like you can choose your team and then the amount of shards that you want to give your drone for that run. So because if you don't, it might accidentally use a tier 5 shard. Maybe you don't want to give it a tier 5 shard. Maybe while you're at work, you're just like, all right, let's just use tier 1 shards, just mass capture shit. Some people might be like, yo, while I'm at work, I'm gonna give you all the tier 5 shards. And I don't know how that's gonna work. I really don't. But I think something like that, an expedition center might be a cool thing. That's probably the biggest thing that I can think of. Um, and I know that again, like a little garden thing. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but yeah, look, I won't give the details on it. But I know that there's something that we're working on in regards to like getting instead of just going from zero to overworld, actually integrating it from the other way around as well. So maybe getting something from overworld that benefits you in zero. So something like that. Again, I know for a fact that that's something that we are working on. I can't spill too much more about that, but I think buildings like that might be cool. I think that might just add a little bit more flavor to it, and again, it incentivizes playing in our ecosystem and not just one
Mm.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, as long as it can't be botted, I'm cool with most things. I'd like to leave alluvials out of it. I've seen
Mm.
this discussion in the Discord. Leaving alluvials out of it is pretty much the number one priority for me. You should only be able to capture them in the overworld. That is really key to the entire metaverse, in my opinion.
Can I get some pushback on that?
Although finding facts and things could be pretty cool that
Yeah.
help you scan for them. Yeah, push
Mhm.
back. Go.
So the thing there is like we see it with Aluva Talks and Andrew and everything like that talking about mobile gamers, right? If we know that arena is going to be on the mobile but not the
Mm.
overworld, so if we have players that are only playing the arena, the only way that they can get their deck is by purchasing it off the marketplace, which isn't a good look. Whereas if they are able to have an entry point into getting alluvials through zero, that actually allows their entire loop and their entire experience into the arena from the mobile experience without the need of a computer at all. And again, if we're looking at Southeast Asia, Africa, countries like this, mobile is the majority of gaming in these regions, not PC. So if we don't have a way to access alluvials through mobile only, we're going to be pushing them into the marketplace, which I mean is fine. But personally, I would imagine that a AAA studio like ourselves would like to create a full loop, a full experience on the mobile, so we can get you from A to Z on one platform, as well as the PC and things like that.
I agree, but I also disagree. So, firstly, Overworld's going to come to mobile. I'm hoping 6 months after the main launch. And I believe Kieran did mention that they've already started talking to people and stuff to organize that. But the Overworld is
Overworld.
eventually, the Overworld is going to come to mobile.
That's Kieran said it publicly multiple times now that that's not going to be a thing.
That's
That's going
not
to be like
coming. So he's only referring to the arena.
yeah, it's only arena. Yeah, like
That's really weird.
Overworld is not coming to the to I won't say not coming, but it's not coming anytime soon for sure.
No, no,
Like
not
that's
not necessarily anytime soon.
no,
But
but I mean like we're talking like years. Like it's not going to be a thing that it's we're not going to be able to have Overworld on mobile
Mm.
anytime soon at all. It's just it's too intensive. That there's a lot of resources that go into it. And again, maybe I'm wrong, but based on the things that we're talking about internally, based on the interviews and AMAs that Kieran was doing just before the end of the year, I think he made that pretty clear that's not going to be a thing. Arena, 100%.
So
Overworld is not going to be a thing.
So I see the value in keeping it all in closed loop, and that's obvious that that's the ideal choice. My only concern there as an extension is one of two things. Sorry, uh, one of two things. So, firstly, really, you're limiting this to landholders because I feel like
Hmm.
that's kind of where I'm drawing the line here. Is like I don't really want free to play players to be able to get alluvials for
Of
free.
course.
Landowners, not too bad. But then, are
Yep.
you really creating a closed loop if you have
Yeah.
20k or 100k limited players on your mobile platform? It's not really fixing the problem.
Yep.
Then you have the other side of things where if free to play players are able to get them in some way, even if they're paying, it's highly bottable as well. So you got to be really careful around that, and that could
Hmm.
damage some things. And the other thing with alluvials is every time you capture one, they get harder to capture and that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of
Yeah.
moving parts there, but keeping them
Yep.
all isolated on mobile would be really good and obviously help mass adoption tenfold. And I
Yeah.
really would want Overworld to come to the mobile sooner rather than later if that's possible. But if not, then we're going to need some other way to get alluvials onto the mobile. I agree.
Exactly.
I'm not sure land is the best solution. But
And
for
yeah,
the
neither am
NFT
I, to be
holders, it's
honest.
all right.
Neither am I. Like I'm again, I'm not again. I work in marketing, not the development or anything like that. This is not my area of expertise. But I do again. I see the value of, like you say, like having a full loop on mobile. Whether this is it or not, I'm not sure. I can see benefits to it. I can see cons to it. I'm kind of leaving it to like big brains like Aaron and Johnny and things like that to really kind of figure it out and find the solution there. We're just the ideas people, and we kind of just throw it to them and be like, "Yo, can
Mm.
this be done? Is there a solution for this?" Because in our mind, it makes sense. It makes sense for user acquisition and things like that, but for actual lore and balancing, that we don't think too much about that. That's not that we leave that to the smarter people on the team.
Yeah, I think every NFT game that has failed so far has failed from a toppled economy,
Hmm.
and at a minimum, I don't want that to be rushed. I
Yeah,
think you can fail an economy once, or you can wait ages to have it see mass adoption, and one of them is clearly safer than the other.
yeah, of
Once your
course.
economy fails, it fails. You're pretty much screwed. So you
Mm,
just take your time and be careful with it, and then eventually build up to it. And it's not so bad. And there's
of
also like
course.
a no game has actually hit a mass adoption point. Even Axie Infinity, as Ponzonomics as it is, if it had mass adoption, there were lots of people that really enjoyed the game for whatever reason, then even bad economics aren't that terrible and would probably sustain
Mm.
themselves in some fashion, which is quite interesting. So the next
I
thing I
mean,
want to talk about,
they still have like 400,000 daily not daily players, 400,000 yeah, like players,
it had
daily
it had
players.
it had to be
It's like quite a
bots.
lot.
I don't get it, but it is what it is.
Of course, but like I mean, it's still decent numbers, yeah. But carry
Yeah, it's
on,
pretty
sorry.
wild. It always shocks me when I see the number for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But just the next thing we should talk about is probably the renting systems. Like, I don't know how much you know about that, and still my understanding that Palamos is building whatever this system is going to look like. But anyways, are you going to rent out? How many of your lands are you going to rent out? Are you going to play any of them?
Am I gonna play my lands? Yeah, 100%. I'm probably gonna play all of them, to be honest. Because we've been talking about it in voice chat in Discord. Like at some point, it only makes sense to rent it out at the beginning, like during the building phase. Once things are optimized and you are at the end game, like rent it out for what? So they can click a button every couple of hours. Like that's ridiculous. So, and even then, renting it out, it's like, what do we rent? Like these guys need to know what the optimal way of building is, right? If you're going to rent it out, you want them to optimize the time and not make mistakes. Like we can see, a mistake is costly. It can cost you 12 hours, it can cost you like 24 hours if you make the wrong move, if you spend the wrong thing. So am I gonna? I mean, there's going to be value in renting for sure, short term. I think, unless you're someone like Kieran, where you have like if you have hundreds of lands, yeah, for sure. Like you're probably not going to switch, like go through all of them and just click them all. Probably rent that out. But I think for most users, that's not going to be a thing. Maybe guilds, but I don't know. Personally, I'm just going to hold it myself and do it myself. I might give one plot of land to my wife to not optimize, but just be like, yo, just like if you enjoy it, play it. If you don't, give it back to me. But otherwise, I think I'm gonna just play it myself.
What if they start
Yeah,
adding major daily events, PvP, that sort of stuff?
I mean that changes the game completely. And again, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what the events are like, what things are like there, and what the rewards are. Is it actually going to be worth it or not? We'll see. We'll see. But I know people have been. We should actually talk to Najif about it because I know he was building this whole thing um, about lending and that kind of not sponsorship, but I don't even know what the word is, but um, what the word is for that model. But he was kind of building his whole thing up around that. And now that the game's out, I'm curious, does he still think that? What are his thoughts? But yeah, what are your
I,
thoughts? What are
I
your
think it's
thoughts?
interesting because you're coming from the lens somewhat similar to me of a T3 plot. And T1
Mm,
and T2 is a very different plot. Like it's mostly focused on things like blueprints and stuff like that, which is still pretty easy click away, but at the same time it takes a long time to get there. And
yeah,
I don't exactly see myself spending 3 to 6 months focusing so heavily on my T1 or my T2s necessarily. And I'll probably focus on the one land because it'll make might make my life easier. I'm busy. I got a
yeah.
lot of stuff to do,
Shit to do.
and it's a lot of brain power as well. I'm not overly stressed, but it does feel kind of bad because you're right that you could pawn it off to someone for 3 to 6 months, and then once the land's complete, it would technically be in your best interest to take the land back and just
Yeah,
do it yourself and take that 50 revenue split and turn it to
make
100
it
again,
100.
like
Yeah, exactly.
which does kind of feel bad, but at the same time there there will be some level of maintenance to the game. Not necessarily your building is breaking down, you got to move things around often or anything like that. But if they do an update to the game and update it from level 9 building to level 10 or whatever, then I would want someone else to take care of that again. I don't necessarily want to go through and re-optimize and refigure all that out. I do think that there's going to be an occupation. Let's put it occupation for like what I'm calling like an Illuvium Zero interior designer, where they know the best way to optimize lands and things. You give them your land, they
Right.
optimize it. They give it back. You pay them $100 or whatever. I think that's
Mm.
going to be really interesting. I think there's going to be jobs like that that come out of this, not
I think that's
necessarily.
gonna be. I honestly, I think that's gonna be I think there's just gonna be AI too. Like we've spoken to I've been speaking to Viper about it, and again, even for me, like I'm not the biggest brain person, but even looking at my land, I'm like, all right, with all the converters, it's simple math. Like it's simple math to see, like, all right, the converters cover 15 by 15 squares. This is how many squares we have. How many of these converters can we put without it overlapping to make sure that we have max efficiency? Like it's not difficult to do for again for if I could figure it out to a pretty high level, I'm pretty sure an AI could be able to actually give you a definitive answer of what that is. So I think someone's
It,
gonna come up with that shit. It shouldn't be that
that's,
hard to do.
that is not that easy to build.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. But I think someone is
It's
gonna do that.
definitely buildable. It's just
Mhm.
not easy to build. But
Yeah.
whoever does is going to make a killing. Obviously, there's no
Mhm.
doubting that. But
I
yeah,
think
and
that's
I
probably
think
gonna be
it's
more
interesting.
optimal than an interior design or like an architect. Kind of be like, oh, this is the optimal. Like maybe short term, um, but again, well, I think long term it's just gonna be AI. And I know it's such a stupid answer to be like, oh, AI is just gonna take jobs, but even digital jobs. But I think I think it is gonna happen. Yeah.
AI's best strength is digital jobs. What are you on about,
Mm.
TSG?
Exactly. That's what I mean, man. Like they're taking our jobs. Yeah. Anything
All right.
online they're taking as well.
So we've only got a couple things more to talk about, and the first one is blueprints or fuel. So
Mhm.
what tiers of land do you have, and how are you going to split it up, if at all?
uh, I have 3 3 1 1 1. Um, I'm gonna go all. Look, man. I can't give you a straight answer without seeing the revised numbers because right now the converters are crazy. Like I'm making like over 100. I haven't even like again like maximized my stuff with one plot of land, but I'm making like I'm pretty sure over 100 fuel of each fuel every day. And I haven't even like got it to the highest level yet. And honestly, I'm sure I could get more than that if I if I increase my storage as well. So I've had like I'll have fuel kind of blinking saying pick me, I'm ready to collect, and I can't collect it because my capacity is full. So and if we know that the numbers are pretty accurate on overworld, like being 300 for a tier 1 run, I mean, like that's decent right there, right? Like you can start to kind of figure it out. I don't know, so I can't give you a straight answer until we get the actual revised numbers for Illuvium Zero, because the converters are converting way too efficiently right now. Like it's just not even physically possible. But
It's not really about that. It's all relative anyways. That's the way the pool works. So if everyone at max is earning 300, then you're all getting the
mm,
revenue split evenly, right? So
mm.
like in terms of what are your goals for the game, the quantity of fuel doesn't really impact it.
Right. Well, I was actually, personally, I was actually originally, I was thinking I'm just going to go with blueprints, and obviously that's still where my priority lies. But I think it's going to be more of a 60-40 split, 50-50 split, to be honest, of trying to figure out how I can maximize both blueprints and fuel. Even though it's not, I mean, like not maximizing one, but maximizing a situation where it's evenly balanced. Rather than saying I'm going to go all into blueprints, I'm going to go all into fuel. Who knows? That might change. I might go more into blueprints just because, but we'll see. Again, without the actual numbers, it's just kind of guessing at this point.
Hmm.
But yeah, what are you holding? What's your plans?
I'm definitely thinking the T3 goes hard on fuel, maximize it, min max it, whatever you want to call it, perfectly. And then everything else is probably going to go on blueprints, to be honest.
Right,
Especially because
right,
they're regions. I think Tiger and Crimson are both really, really cool alluvials and stuff there. And Shard Bluff will probably have maybe one singularity scanner on it, maybe, but it'll mostly be fuel.
right. Yeah, I've got all five of my plots of land are shard bluff, so I'm just gonna go crazy with the blueprints there.
You're gonna get the Scoriox before me. I'll have to
Yo,
sell it to you for something.
that's the plan. That's the plan.
I'll have to trade you.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay,
Prices are inflated right now.
so I think I know the answer for this one, but it's gonna be fun to ask it anyways. Do you think? Do you ever think Illuvium Zero is going to be very streamable?
Yeah, yeah, I do. 100% I do.
I don't
Is
know if
that
you're
the
being
answer
sarcastic.
is that the answer you were expecting?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's going to be incredible in regards to, like, we see just chatting being such a big thing, right?
Mm,
And I feel like it's going to be one of those games where we're just chatting, man, we can put Illuvium Zero up while we're waiting for a couple of things, man, maybe react to a couple of videos, like, you know what I mean, switch between things,
mm.
maybe bring up the overworld for a run, come back and check in on your land. I think land is going to be very, very streamable, in regards to a relaxed kind of, not a dedicated, yo, everyone watch what I'm doing for land, but it's like, yo, let's kick back. Let me show you what I've got with my land. Yo, these are the things that I'm working on. Boom, let's go arena real quick. Boom, let's go into the overworld, catch some things. Let's check back into the land. I think land is going to be a thing where, again, as we're playing arena, as we're playing overworld, we're going to be focused on the game, and it's going to be hard to engage. Whereas playing something like Zero, again, is very kind of just, let's kick back, man. I'm gonna eat some food while this is on, and let's just chat, right? Like let's just vibe out. So I actually think that Illuvium Zero is going to be incredibly streamable. And I know this is not what a lot of people were expecting at all. And I'm personally a little bit late to stream the land Illuvium Zero now. And I mean, I'm sure I could, and like I say, just do some reaction stuff with my audience. But I'm really looking forward to season one. When that drops, I think I'll start streaming a little bit more frequently, for Illuvium Zero, for that reason, that we are actually going to get things going there. And again, like I say, for just chatting, if I've got 5 plots of land, alternate between them and just chat with the audience, right? Like it's very easy to kind of just do that. Talk about what's happening on the news. Talk about, like, again, just chill out with your audience while that's going on in the background. I think that's a very, very streamable.
I
Absolutely.
I did actually have this idea come to my mind where like I'd be on stream and I'd be playing the overworld or something, and you have the overworld, you have my camera, and then below that you also have my land that's kind of playing in the
Mm,
background and stuff. And when I'm done
yep.
with something in the overworld or I'm paused or whatever, I just swap the screens or whatever on screen.
Yeah, just switch the
And
scenes.
I'm
Yeah,
like clicking a few things and I swap them back and things like that, so that I'm playing both games at once during even like
exactly.
Overworld and things like that. I think that could be
Exactly.
pretty interesting. And to be honest, one
I
of my guilty
guarantee you that's going to happen when Overworld is out, when Open Beta is out, and everything is actually out. You might not be doing it in Arena because you'd want to focus, but
mm,
I guarantee anyone playing Overworld, we're going to see if anyone is streaming Overworld for just Overworld, ridiculous. I mean, if you've got land, um, but if you've got land, you should absolutely be streaming Overworld and Zero and switching between them. Like it's not even hard. I mean, depending on the power of your PC, if it can handle it, if you've got multiple monitors to switch these scenes, these are things that we need to consider. But ideally, if you've got multiple monitors and you can handle it, yeah, 100%, man. Why would you not do that?
I was
That's
I,
just yeah.
I was even wondering if it would be possible to stream both at once. Now I know this sounds kind of wacky, but what if you were streaming Overworld on YouTube and you were streaming Illuvium Zero on Twitch, but your camera was shared on both of them?
I personally, I that's too much. It's hard for me. I would just prefer just doing a one. Because like, how would you do that? Like, if you
I don't know.
so you'd have Illuvium Zero on Twitch and Overworld. So you'd be talking about Overworld, but you'd be talking about Overworld on the Illuvium Zero stream. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
It's
Sorry,
fine. It's
Cyriox.
fine. You're playing
Sorry,
both at
man.
once. I think it would be hilarious. I think no one's ever done it before.
I mean, try it. Try it out. Let me know how it goes.
Like, I wonder how you could set it up. Could you like run Streamlabs OBS and OBS side by side? And the
I
Streamlabs OBS is feeding
potentially.
the camera from OBS, and then they're both streaming separate places.
I don't think you can have the camera on in both programs, can you?
No, because one of them's virtual cam, and one of them's picking up the virtual cam.
Ah, right. Yeah, fair, fair, fair.
Because you can
Maybe,
virtual
maybe.
cam and stream at the same time.
Maybe I don't know. Not something that I'm going to plan on doing. So yeah, but I mean, fair play,
Uh,
fair
I
play.
did actually. I made a video today. It's coming out on Monday or Tuesday or something. I can't remember. I made a video today, and for part of that, it was like some level of Illuvium Zero tutorial video. I'm not going to
Mm,
completely spoil it for you guys, but I was really enjoying it because there was this thing I wanted to do as soon as Illuvium Zero came out, and during parts of the video, I'm like, okay, just give me a minute. I gotta clear this, and I gotta make these paths and things like that. And instead of cutting from there to when I've done finished it, I recorded the entire thing and I time lapsed it.
mm.
So you got this like really quick run through of me doing all the stuff live action and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I always wanted to do it because I did like really funny stuff in the camera while it was happening,
Mm.
acting
No, I think
like I
that's
was
cool.
late. I was acting like I was late for a bus or something. It was really funny.
Jesus
I got a
Christ!
kick
Oh
out
my
of it.
god.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, fair play. As long as you're having a good time. As long as you're having a good time.
I got a really good kick out of it. All right. So
Uh,
thanks for coming on, man, today for Augment.
yeah, no problem, man. I'm glad I was invited on.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed the chat down below. Definitely leave a comment if you enjoyed it. If you have any ideas for the future of Illuvium Zero, definitely leave a comment down below. Obviously, TSG's channel is going to be linked down there. Go check it out and subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And if you want to make up funny nicknames for TSG, then put them in the comments down below as well. That's cool.
I mean, yeah, TSG is pretty good. I'm not
You
gonna
got
lie.
anything else to say, man?
Nah, appreciate it. Yeah, in the comments down below, let us know. Like, I don't know, fuck it. Give Illuvium Zero a ranking out of 10. Just like let us know what you think. Just or what you thought based on your expectations to reality. Anything. Fuck it. Have fun. But yeah, appreciate you guys. We will catch you guys next week. Next week for sure.
See ya.
Peace.